You want me to do what? Forgive? Make amends? To show grace? Do you know what they did to me? It can be one of the most challenging things as we continue this journey through the steps and answering the question, why would I want to do that? Making amends and offering forgiveness and extending grace, receiving grace even, can seem like one of the biggest barriers in recovery, but I think it's one of the greatest keys to our healing journey. Why would we carry out step 9 to make a direct amends? Why would we offer forgiveness to those who have hurt us? If you only knew what they did to me, why would I do that? And what's the point of making amends? Today we're going to continue the conversation around answering why to the what of living out and practicing these principles, specifically Principle 6 and Step 9 on this recovery journey. Welcome to Hope and Recovery, a Fellowship Celebrate Recovery podcast that shares hope and healing for our mental, spiritual, emotional, and relational journey through life-change stories and recovery topics, all centered around the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus Christ, with his own words, through the Celebrate Recovery principles, helps us to face the events of our life, the hurts that come with that, and the hang-ups that we get stuck with, how we see God, how we see ourselves, others, even our circumstances that might bring us into some unhealthy habits or protections, actions, tendencies, defenses, numbing agents that cause havoc on our relationships with others and especially our fellowship with the Lord, to bring healing, to put us on a much better path. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. My name is Rodney. I'm the pastor and ministry leader here at Fellowship Bible Church Celebrate Recovery, and man, it's so good to be back with you today. I hope you've been enjoying this series. We're nearing the end, kind of rounding into step 9 through 12 here, and today we're going to be talking about step 9 and the importance of living this important step out. To answer the why, if I understand the why, it gives me more oxygen to continue to do the what. But principle 6, that's tied with step 9, so there is a little bit of overlap to our last podcast discussion around step 8. You'll see some overlap between step 8 and step 9. I'll explain that in a minute. But principle 6 is at the very heart of this, and Matthew chapter 5 is where all the principles are rooted from. Principle 6 reads, evaluate all my relationships, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and make amends for harm I've done to others when possible, except when to do so would harm them or others. And then Jesus' words, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the peacemakers. Jesus is saying, blessed are the merciful, for they'll be shown mercy. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they'll be called children of God. That's Matthew 5:7 and 5:9. And in step 9, where we are today, so in step 8, we made the list of all that we had harmed and just become willing. Now we're moving into, and you can see the order of this because it's a step. The next step, we don't do this all in one step. We're just making a list in step 8. Now we're in the process of actually making, as it reads, we made a direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And so this is a scary, and we talked about this on the last podcast, it's a scary step to carry out, where we're making amends. We're learning how to forgive. We're learning how to extend grace and walk in grace. And so just kind of continuing this conversation, now we're moving into actually carrying out what we've done the work in listing out, because it's so important not just to list it out, and we talk it through with our sponsor, some accountability, some people that we trust that have wisdom that are further down the road than us. And is this an appropriate person to go to directly? Is there a process of maybe I write a letter that I never mail just to get it out on paper? Do I write it out and read it to my sponsor versus the person that I've actually making the amends or offering forgiveness for. It's an important part of the process. So in this, there's some key components to step 9 in the biblical comparisons that go with that. In Matthew 5, it says, verse 23, "Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them. Then come and offer your gift." So the Lord's saying, Jesus is letting us know that if you got something between you and your brother, if you're coming to me and offering a gift and haven't dealt with that, we're getting it backwards. That's how important relationships are and making things right with our relationships. So there's this component in Celebrate Recovery in Book 3. We're hitting amends. We're hitting Lesson 16. Lesson 17, forgiveness, which is really into where we are now. And the grace lesson in Lesson 18. The questions that we're answering in there, though they're hard to put to words, are so critical to help us find clarity and kind of organize that. So right out of the gate, it's understanding the importance of this. I need to acknowledge the need to take responsibility. I've made the list in step 8. Now I'm getting ready to make a direct amends, but if I don't understand the importance of it, I probably won't do it. And so am I acknowledging the need to take responsibility for past actions that have harmed others? Again, therefore, offer your gift in front of the altar. Offer your gift at the altar, and then remember that your brother or sister has something against you. Leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them. Then come and offer your gift. There's an order to this. And what I'm doing in this step, in step 9, the important step 9, is I'm acknowledging the need to take responsibility. That, I can see how my actions affected you, and ultimately just take ownership. And that's the beauty of recovery, is we're learning how to take responsibility. That's why we talk about I and me statements. When I say, I hurt you, and when I did this, it was wrong, I'm owning that versus kind of making it, well, we all struggle with that, and, leaving the ifs and the buts out of it. If I hurt you, I'm sorry. No, you wouldn't be making amends if you didn't think you hurt them. Or, I'm sorry I hurt you, but you were really a jerk, or whatever the but is. Ifs and buts in amends in this process just don't work. And so I need to understand the importance of it, which is key. And then I need to reflect on the impact. So this is important. This is part of my growth. I'm making a direct amends, as step 9 says, except when I injure them or others. That's why I'm seeking counsel in that, to make sure I'm not doing something that would create more damage. Sometimes we'll use that as an out, though, won't we? Well, I don't want to hurt anybody. No, we're trying to make sure that we don't cause more injury or harm, but it doesn't mean pain's not going to be there. And I'm doing so to not expect anything back. We talk about that in the lesson. That's why these lessons are so beautiful for our hearts and in this recovery process. But so I'm not only understanding the importance, now I'm reflecting on the impact. How did my actions affect you? I'll be honest, if I'm in a meeting with a couple, and if I can help the couples to see the cost of their actions and what they do and have done to their partner, and that partner sees their pain in their eyes, to really feel the impact, it's a game changer. Because now I'm really with you. I'm empathizing. I'm with you in it. And I see how my actions, I'm not only taking responsibility, I see the impact. So I'm really trying to come to a space, walking through these lessons, of considering how my behavior, my actions, my tendencies have affected others emotionally. How did it affect you physically? Or maybe how did it affect you spiritually, mentally, all those things. And this is the heart of that Philippians 2, verse 3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. So what we're saying, Jesus is telling us, hey, relationships are so important. I want you to go deal with that as far as it depends on you, make peace with that, and then come back to me. And then in Philippians, we're seeing Paul's reminding us that same message that, hey, value others above yourself. If you've done something wrong, really understand, how did that impact you? How did that impact the other in your actions? And really in that place, now I'm feeling that, and I'm coming to you from a posture of, I know what I did hurt you. And here's the thing, they may not be ready to forgive you. That's not why we're doing it. For my growth, and if I don't have an understanding of the impact, then I'm not going to be healing. I'm not going to be growing. I'm not going to be changing. Now, we could do a whole nother conversation on the other side of this, is learning how to let go of that. We'll talk more about that, but we have to understand the importance, but then reflect on that impact, to really chew on that. These questions really help us to get there. And then we're moving into actually the part of, now we're going vertical with the Lord. Lord, I see the impact on them, but I need to seek forgiveness from you on what I did to them, to your son, to your daughter. You can see why understanding the impact is so critical. If I don't understand the impact, why would I go to the Lord and ask for forgiveness? And he loves me. He wants me to kind of keep my side of the street clean. But if I don't own that, I'm not going to heal from that. So before making that amends with someone, as I understand the impact, I need to ensure that I've sought out forgiveness from God for my wrongs. Can you imagine not doing my vertical work with the Father and then walking into that space with the other that I've harmed? Good to have the impact, but if I've not done my work with the Lord, it could cause more harm. And so have I done my work? And that's that 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sins, you'll see this in this lesson, this principle, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. So that purifying, just think of that. We're going through a fire, and the fire is purifying. It's painful to go through this, but I got to own it, and I got to go to the Lord and do my work vertically, so that horizontally I can do the repair with the others. But I got to do it in that right order. So we've been making this list. We're identifying these specific individuals. We're identifying the circumstances. We're identifying the harm, and we're feeling the impact of that. And we've made that list in step 8, and now we're kind of continuing that into step 9 to become my guide in making amends to carry this out. And that's Proverbs 21:5. I love that. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So we're being diligent in saying, let me give this some thought. It's like, instead of, well, I probably hurt a few people. I probably hurt them and them and them. I think I'll just go take care of it. What you're doing in this process of the value of writing it down, you gave it some thought and prayer. Lord, who have I hurt? That's my part in the inventory process, so that I can own that, not to justify. I'm looking at the people that have hurt me. That's the early part of the recovery process. And now I'm dealing with the others, the relationship in this step 6 and step 8 and step 9. I'm now going outward, from inward to outward. And so I'm being diligent, as that Proverbs 21:5 says, so that I can enjoy the profits of a better life, peace, and the fruit of the Spirit, because I've done my vertical work. Can you just hear how if you're one that's like, why do I do this? There's just such value in spending time with this. Yes, it feels like we're going through fire. It is purifying us from unrighteousness. But can you see the value of walking through this, to own it, to understand the impact, to be diligent in doing the work, to give it some thought and prayer, to write the names down, so that I can then take the next step it's important to me to spend that time on that. So now it's important for me to carry that out. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. So we'll continue the conversation. I want to take a super quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation on the why around step 8. Stick with me. I'll be right back. Hey friends, if you're looking for a Friday night expression of Celebrate Recovery, we've got 2 campuses, same schedule, just different great people willing to walk through this journey. Just a great and safe environment for you to face your hurts, hangups, and habits. We meet every Friday night starting at 6 p.m. with Connection Cafe, and our main meeting starts at 7 p.m. on both campuses. If you'd like more information, go to fellowshipcr.org. Come see us this Friday night. We'd love to have you. Don't quit before your miracle happens. Welcome back. So important. You kind of getting a sense of the why. And this is an important one to have a why too, isn't it? Because it is scary. So we're moving into this space through learning how to forgive. And we're learning how to make amends. We're learning how to receive God's grace through as we do the work vertically, so that we can learn how to extend forgiveness, receive forgiveness, make amends, to own my part, trust God with their side of the street. I can't make them work their recovery, but I can do my part. And here's the thing I'll say about forgiveness. Kind of going heavy on the amends part of it because it's such an important part. Notice the order in the lessons. Lesson 16 is about amends. Lesson 17 is about forgiveness and grace. To me, I love the intentionality when Pastor John Baker was writing this. Is there is an element that hits me. Take care of your part in this. Understand, which sometimes this is a barrier to forgiveness, is we don't clean up our side of the street and we forget our own fallenness. If I can spend time in understanding and unpacking my own fallenness, understanding it, reflecting on the impact, seeking God for forgiveness for my part, see, someone that has been forgiven has a much better chance of forgiving because I've been forgiven. Don't forget your fallenness. So just don't forget the order of this process. It's so powerful. But amends, forgiveness, grace, it's like this circular thing. If there's a stop somewhere in the cycle, this circular tube, whether it's receiving forgiveness from God, forgiving myself for my actions, walking in that humility as a forgiven person, not letting shame take over, and learning how to extend that to others. The big part of that can stop up that tube, that circular tube, is not owning my part, and of course being able to forgive and walking in God's grace so that I can extend grace. His grace is given to me. It gives me the power to extend grace to others. So you can just see the humility that's needed in this important process. Step 8 and step 9 through principle 6. Humility is key. I got to approach this process. I have to approach this step, this process, this part of the journey with humility. Who have I harmed? And approach that with a sincere heart and humility, recognizing my shortcomings. We've heard this verse many times in our journey, James 4:10, humble yourselves before the Lord and he will lift you up. It feels like in our humility we fall into the pit, but don't forget, Jesus is the one picking us up. So am I approaching step 8, step 9 with humility as I make that direct amends and learn how to forgive somebody? It's principle 6, evaluate all my relationships, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and of course make amends. So all of it kind of works together. So am I approaching this with humility? You can see why working the first 15 lessons of Celebrate Recovery are so important. If you started with lesson 16, amends, and then lesson 17, forgiveness, man, we're not going to be prepared for walking in humility because it's still about me. I'm still in control. I'm still in power, or presumably, right? No, humble myself. To be able to walk in humility means I got to work those first 5 principles or first 8 steps so that I can carry out step 9 to make that direct amends, and in principle 6 to really offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me. So humility is key. And then we're in that process of making that direct amends wherever possible, remember, and whenever possible. So I do this through that direct communication, and the heart of it is it genuine? Is my effort genuine, or am I just checking this off the list? It will fall flat if I don't walk in humility and making that direct amends. If it's not genuine and authentic, it can cause more damage. And that's why I think talking to accountability mentors, other people, is they can kind of do a heart check on us. Hey, how are you doing? Are you in a good spot to do this? Because if it's not genuine, authentic, humble, you're going to cause more harm. Luke 6:31, do to others as you would have them do to you. So important. How would I want to hear this? That's the kind of genuine, authentic, humble communication, direct communication whenever possible. And if it's not appropriate, then we find other strategies for the letters and that kind of thing. But so this is the thing, and we talk about this in the amends lesson, that it's not for them. And I always tell people, expect emotions are going to come up. So be prepared for all kinds of different reactions. Not everyone will respond positively, okay? But does that mean I shouldn't do it? No, I've got to do it. This is my recovery. I can only work my recovery. I can't work your recovery. Own your side of the street. So I have to be ready to accept whatever response comes my way without being defensive, because then we're going to be right back in it, right? Proverbs 15:1 reminds us, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Am I approaching this with gentleness and respect? See, the greatest way I can be a testimonial of the gospel is be prepared to share about this good news, but do it with gentleness and respect. I think this is a direct correlation to where we are right now, is how I live out the gospel with gentleness and respect will speak volumes on, there is change in you. If I come out at defensive, anger, and the first time there's any pain that comes out in the other person, that I become reactive and defensive, it's like, this is the same old person. Gentleness. Remember, your gentle answer, your gentle approach is so, so vital in this. And this whole process of living out the amends, the forgiveness, is helping us stay on our journey. If we skip step 8 in making the list, and we skip step 9 of carrying out and sharing the list, and we skip this heart of principle 6 in the middle of this, of offering forgiveness and receiving grace from God so that we can extend grace to others, keep our side of the street clean, our journey of restoration, of healing, of recovery will have a bottleneck. So in essence, if I'm asking a why, this is so that I can embrace ongoing efforts to live in healthy community, in harmony with others around me. I want to seek a restoration in those relationships as a part of my recovery journey. And Hebrews 12 says it well, make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. No one will see the Lord. And so we're trying to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. And so what the scripture is telling us in Hebrews is this is an act of holiness. Holy people take this step. So you say, well, why should I do this? Because the scriptures are commanding us to walk in holiness. If we're holy people, and he calls us holy, that means we are to practice holy habits. Not perfect perfection but holiness. We're not going to always get it right, and that's why we need an ongoing daily inventory to go back to the Lord. Hey, I blew it today. I need your help. I was short with that person, whatever. But an act of holiness is actually a part of living in peace. And don't miss the last part of that, verse 14. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. So you can see the why for me in the amends, forgiveness, and grace, which wraps up this book 3 for us in the Celebrate Recovery Study. Principle 6, step 8, step 9. We're really helping people to see the Lord through us. And no greater act than through humility to say, I was wronged, and yet because of Christ, I'm able to forgive. I did wrong, but because of Christ, I'm able to own that. And with gentleness and respect and understanding the impact, offer this amends to you to receive God's forgiveness before that, so that I can then extend forgiveness and make this list, give it some time, and then share that with someone. So you can just see how these important answer to the why, carrying this out is so critical to help us embrace step 9, so that we can continue to kind of create this facilitating healing, growth in our recovery journey. And what a great reinforcement to the biblical principles around humility, taking responsibility, and just pursuing peace in my relationships. Why? As verse 14 of Hebrews 12 says, so that people will see the Lord. Without holiness, no one sees the Lord. Can someone see Jesus through you in doing one of the most humbling, selfless acts, as Paul reminds us in that Philippians 2, again, not out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but rather in humility, value others above yourself. Hey, I'm willing to do this through forgiveness, amends, grace, so that through holiness, people will see the Lord through me, and I can continue my path of restoration, redemption, healing, maturing, recovery. Such an important part of this process. Well, I hope this brings a little bit of clarity. This is a hard process. I don't want to kind of just be haphazard with this, that I was like, oh, this is easy. No, it's difficult. But here's the thing I want you to hear. If you're not there yet, don't try to do this. There is a process. There are steps that build into this, and just know this in your heart. It seems insurmountable right now, but as we walk in His grace and He deals with the inside of us and our hurts, hangups, and habits, He will then move to the outside effects from the damage that's been done because of the hurt inside of us or the hurt in this broken world. And He will give you the courage to do courageously what's needed in step 9, principle 6 of this recovery journey. Hope this gives you a little bit of oxygen for your soul to keep going. You're worth it, and Jesus loves you. As always, thanks so much for joining me. I pray that you'll join me next time. Until then, God bless you guys.